Hello guys, welcome back to Learn to Explain. This is the class of pre-calculus and today we will introduce lecture 6, quadratic polynomials. These are very common and important polynomials. So the objectives of this lecture will be to introduce the quadratic equation, to introduce the quadratic formula, and to find the roots of a quadratic equation using the formula. Okay, so first thing to mention is what is the quadratic equation. We have talked about this in previous lectures. The quadratic equation is that equation or that polynomial that looks like this one right here, ax squared plus bx plus c. You see that the a, b, and c are the constant and the variable is x and it starts with square because it's a quadratic formula and keeps decreasing a power. So we start with the 2, this is 1, and the other one is 0. So it is not existent there. So because everything to the power of 0 is equal to 1. Okay, so that's the equation, right? So if you remember in previous classes, we introduced the difference of perfect squares, where we say that, hey, we need to find two values that multiplied gives me C and added or subtracted give me B, right? Or also using that applies only when A is equal to 1, right? But then also we study the AC method, that is when A is different than 1, and then we figure out what are the roots by using factorization using the AC method. Today, we will introduce a formula that help us calculate the values of x. And by the values of x, I mean the zeros of these polynomials. So the number that if we plug in here will make this equation be equal to 0. So you see that a polynomial is just a square plus bx plus c. Then when we equal it to 0, then it converts to an equation, right? Equation equals to 0. And for this to be equal to 0, we just have to plug in values in x that creates this equation to be 0. And this is where the quadratic formula comes to place. And the quadratic formula is this one right here. It's minus b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. To be honest, the best thing you can do is just memorize this equation. I know it seems a little bit confusing, complicated. Maybe write it down as many times as it is necessary for you to memorize it, but it's extremely important for you to know this equation to get the values of x that make the quadratic formula equals to 0. Remember also these values of x represent that when this quadratic equation, remember quadratic equation, would touch the x-axis twice. So let's say that we have a parabola here, right? And this parabola touches the x-axis in this point and in this point. These 2 points are the numbers that we're going to plug in here, because these ones make the y be equal to 0, okay? Or the entire equation be equal to 0. This equation help us find these values of x when it's not as easy as we practiced before using factorization, right? So you could have like values of like square root of 35. So it's something that is basically impossible to figure out just by factorization, because you will have to try every single existing number. Okay, so after all this explanation, let's do some exercises. And the first one says 5x squared minus 2x minus 9. Okay, so the first thing to do is to identify the value of A, B, and C. Okay, so it is very easy because the value of A is always the one with the x squared, the value of B is the one with the x, and the value of C is just the number. Okay, so in this case, A is equal to 5, just the number. Then B is equal to minus 2, and C is equal to minus 9. Okay, so with these three values, let's apply the quadratic formula. And the quadratic formula says x is equal to minus b. What is b? Minus 2. Okay, so minus b and then minus 2, right? Because this minus is from the formula and this minus is from our number. Okay, so minus b plus minus square root b square. What is b for us? Minus 2 square minus 4a. What is a for us? 5 times c. What is c for us? Minus 9. And all this divided by 2a. What is a for us? 5. Okay, so this is how we apply the formula. So now let's solve it. Minus and minus is positive. Plus minus the square root of 2 squared is 4. Minus 4 times 5 is 20. Times 9 is 180. And we have minus and minus, so it would end up being positive. Positive 180. And now we divide by 2 times 5 is 10. We keep solving this. Is 2 plus minus square root of 184 divided by 10. Okay, so the square root of 184, we can solve it by decomposing the number 184. So when we decompose 184, we divide it by 2, and this will be equal to 92. Then divided by 2 again, and this will be equal to 46. And then divided by 2 again, and this will be equal to 23. And 23 is a prime number, so it can only be divisible to its own. So 23, and then this is 1. Okay, so this is written as 2 cubed times 23. Okay, so because we have 1, 2, and 3. So we have 2 cubed times 23. Okay, so we write down x is equal to 2 plus minus square root of 2 cubed times 23 divided by 10. And from this cube, we can cancel 2 square with the square root of with the square root. So we have 2 plus minus square root of 2 squared times 2 times 23. Remember that 2 and 2, the power adds each other, so we have not done anything extraordinary here. So this 2 cancels with the square root, and the 2 comes out. So we have 2 plus minus 2 square root of 2, and 2 times 23 is 46 divided by 10. And here are the two values of x. Well, remember that when we have x squared, it means that we're going to get two values of x, okay? So our two values of x will be x1 is equal to 2 plus 2 square root of 46 divided by 10, and the second 0 or root is equal to 2 minus, remember, so one solution is a plus and the other solution is a minus. 2 square root of 46 divided by 10. And did you see when I said that doing this using just factorization is going to be basically impossible? Because how are we going to come up with these numbers to get it, like multiply it to have the value of C and then sum or subtract it to get the value of B? It will be basically impossible. So using the quadratic formula, we can get the two roots of the quadratic equation. Okay, so these are the two solutions for this equation. Let's do one more to practice. We have 9x squared minus 9x plus 2. Okay, the first thing to do is to identify what is A, what is B, and what is C. So A is equal to 9, right? This one right here. B is equal to minus 9, and C is equal to 2. Now that we have this, we just apply it in the formula, and the formula says x is equal to minus b. What is b? Minus 9. Plus minus square root b squared. What is b? Minus 9 squared. Minus 4 times a. What is a? 9. And c. What is c? 2. All this divided by 2a. What is a? 9. And we just solve. So it's x equals to minus and minus is plus minus square root of 9 squared is equal to 81, positive, because remember that when the negative times negative, then it comes positive, minus 4 times 9 is 36 times 2 is 72. So 72 divided by 2 times 9 is 18. Okay, so now if we do 81 minus 72 is equal to 9. So x is equal to 9 plus minus square root of 9 divided by 18. And here we can keep solving it because the square root of 9 is 3. So we have 9 plus minus 3 divided by 18. And we get our two solutions from here. We have x1 is equal to 9 plus 3 divided by 18, which is 12 divided by 18, and then we simplify, divided both by 2 will be 6 divided by 9, then divide both by 3, then it's 2 divided by 3. Okay, so this is one solution, 2/3, and the other solution will be 9 minus 3 divided by 18, and this will be equal to 6 divided by 18. We divide both of them by 2, then we have 3 divided by 9, then both of them by 3, and then we get 1/3. So one solution is 2/3 and the other solution is 1/3. These two numbers will make this equation right here be equal to 0. Okay, so this is how we use the quadratic formula to obtain the roots of the quadratic equation. Again, with the quadratic formula, we get two solutions with a plus and minus. Okay, and those are the two solutions of x squared.